Greetings, everybody, and welcome to More the Podcast, a Youth for Christ international podcast. And I am the host, or your host, whichever way you want to look at it, Martin Ainsworth, and I have no idea which episode number this is. I'm going to look at Sam, and she looks at me, and she's like, I have no clue. We're going to go with 19, episode number 19. And I'm sat in the studio with none other than the Australian legend, Lyndal Walker.
Hello, Martin.
Hello, Lyndal. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Excellent.
I won't say great because I'm pretty tired, but I'm fine.
So I'd normally say, what is the time difference between Australia and America? I had to remember where I was then. But you're not living in Australia at the moment, are you?
No, I'm in Ontario, Canada, so they're 2 hours ahead. But from there, Australia is 14 hours ahead. So I guess 16 hours ahead in Australia right now.
Gosh, so you've come from the future into the past. You are officially a time traveller.
Yeah, everyone asks me, so how is it in the future? Like whenever I'm in Australia.
Oh, we have friends that we use that joke with all the time. And every time they just look at us and go, we're not answering that again. So I'm intrigued. I'm going to pretend like I have no clue what you do, like we've never met before, and go like, hey, Lyndal, what do you do with Youth for Christ International?
Well, first of all, I guess the title is Youth for Christ International Prayer Director. A lot of people introduce me as a coordinator, but I'm like, no.
I don't.
Because it's so much more than just coordinating prayer. It's like directing. And so that means a lot of leadership stuff like strategy. And I've got a team that I've built up and leading, and I produce a lot of resources and do training and equipping and encouraging and visiting the nations. And yeah, it's a lot more than just coordinating some prayer meetings. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's break that down.
Okay.
So you coordinate a team. So tell me about the team and how does that work?
Okay, so last year I decided that I couldn't do this role on my own because it's huge. And I needed a team. So the first thing that I did was ask if I could get a deputy. And so I have a deputy prayer director, and she's based in Botswana.
Fantastic.
Her name's Ember. So she's a missionary there with Youth for Christ. And then I'm like, okay, how do we expand this into our areas and nations? So we thought, okay, we need an area prayer coordinator for each area. So as most of you probably know, YFCI is divided into EMENA, Europe, Middle East, North Africa, the Asia Pacific, the Americas, and Africa. So we have worked with the areas to develop an area person. And so they're part of my team. And then we have an amazing ministry called Wake Up Deborah, which is huge worldwide. And we thought we needed someone to oversee that internationally. So she's also part of my team, Saskia van Helden. She's based in the Netherlands. And then I have an assistant who, well, she's our team assistant, but she mostly does work for me, which is very helpful. And she's based in Ireland, but she's got a Romanian heritage, but grew up in Spain and is married to an Irishman. So it's very nice to have that international flavour.
So that's quite, like I said, that's quite a fantastically diverse team that you get to coordinate and things like that. You mentioned resources. So you also collectively and you as an individual write resources for people as well?
Yeah, so this year we actually developed a guide for that Day of Prayer and Fasting, which is one of our main prayer initiatives. So that was recently released into the major languages.
Fantastic.
The first resource I developed was a devotional for young people called Intimacy, Intercession and Increase, 31-day adventure with Jesus to explore a life of prayer. So that was released in 2021, but it just had an update. So second edition update with a new cover and new action points for each chapter. So that's actually been released now. And I also wrote a leader's supplement to go with that edition. And yeah, recently there was 2,000 copies printed in Nigeria to go out to West Africa. And so we're partnering with the West Africa regional director there, and they're going to do a reading challenge with the young people in their area. So that's pretty exciting. And I never expected when I wrote this devotional that, people in Africa would want to read it. So, very grateful for that. I guess another part of the resourcing we do is every month we have what we call an e-pray, which is a devotional or inspirational piece that goes out before our day of prayer and fasting, just to encourage people, give them points that they can reflect on during that day of prayer, give them some action points to pray through. So, there's a lot of resources, and I've got more that I would like to develop, but
Fantastic.
a matter of finding the time.
So what's on the horizon then? So from a... That's okay. Camera person just having a little cough.
It happens.
It is. You good? Oh, you don't need to clap. I mean, everyone can hear that you're coughing. It's just a normal part of life. Thanks.
Sorry, everybody.
So, I was just going to say, so is there there's more resources on the horizon, more new things that are coming that people can access?
Yes, I would love to write a second book around the voice of God, which I have started collecting stories. So part of it would be training and teaching from the Word, but also collecting YFC stories from around the world for people's personal experience related to listening to the voice of God and then obeying. So, hopefully next year when it's not a GA year, a bit of time. But this year it's been huge with preparing for the GA, because first time ever we're doing a prayer day to start with, and we have over 500 people registered for that. So it's been a lot to organise.
It has, and that was going to lead me into my next thing going, so we have this thing called General Assembly, which apparently has been sold out, and you're leading a prayer day. You're kind of kicking off the celebration and getting us all kind of rooted in prayer. What's that going to look like?
Well, I'm actually dividing the day into the title of my book, which is Intimacy, Intercession and Increase, because it's basically John 17 is the guiding passage for that title. And so, John 17, we see Jesus having intimacy with the Father, and then he switches to intercession to pray for his disciples. And he prayed for those who would come and believe as a result of the disciples' witness. So that means there's an increase in the kingdom. And so, we're going to have time of intimacy with God, like there's some worship. Dave's going to lead some personal confession and repentance time. Then we're going to have some guided prayer. And then, I'm going to intercession for the middle part of the day. And then, later on in the day, we'll be praying for those who need to hear the good news of the kingdom. And so that's how the day will be divided. We've got some prayer kits. I won't give too much away, but
Okay.
We're going to have a little bit of interactive kind of stuff, which will be fun as well. And,
Excellent.
Just looking forward to it. I feel like it's be a little taste of heaven on earth, just all of the nations coming together, and every tribe, tongue and language before the throne.
Fantastic.
And then, we'll have prayer throughout the conference. We're actually going to have a prayer room there called the Mount, because Jesus went up onto the Mount and spent time with the Father.
Fantastic.
And I hear our team who are working on that have got some very cool ideas. So there'll be times where you can just get away, remove yourself from all the noise and the crowd of the conference, just to spend time with him in solitude. And so there's going to be some great things happening
along the way. I actually think it's quite an advantage that you've not been to a General Assembly before, and that this is your first one.
Well, I have been to one, actually.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Well, hang on a second. Let me apologise.
I was actually part of the prayer team in Miami.
Oh, were you really? Okay. Well, I was going to say it's an advantage you've not been before, because then you can lay a blueprint of all things that new. You were at Miami?
Yes.
Well, I didn't see you at Miami.
No, I was pretty new on the scene then, but this is the first time organising and coordinating, and as we said, it's the first time they've done a whole prayer day to start with. So, it's been fairly large.
And you say around about 500 people will be coming to that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a small number of people that are, herd into the room and, chanting and activities. So I'm excited for you as well. I mean, you did say you were excited about it. It does sound like it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yes, and my aim and everybody probably thought I was crazy, but I had 75% of the attendees would be at the prayer day, but we had no idea there'd be 1,000 people coming. So getting at least half is pretty good.
That is pretty good. I mean, Youth of Christ, we're great at signing up for stuff and dreadful for turning up, but then we stick it in another country and everyone's coming in. They've got no choice but to attend, but these guys have actively said, no, I want to be there for the prayer day and I want to join in. So,
and I think that goes to show like the growth of prayer in our organization over the last few years, because it's something that we have really wanted to focus on, and the fact that people want to come for the prayer day. And I think that's awesome. That just goes to show that, one of our pillars for our organization is prayer, and that we would be a movement saturated in prayer. And so, to see this number of people wanting to gather for that prayer day is really amazing. And I'm very grateful for all those who said, yes, I'm going to come.
So throughout the conference, they can find you or one of the team on the Mount. Do we say on the Mount or in the Mount? On the Mount.
On the Mount, I guess. Well, no, we're going to have availability after the main sessions. We're going to have early morning prayer from 6:30 to 7:15 if anyone wants to join that. But the prayer team, when they're on duty, will be wearing lanyards. So we're going to divide the whole team up into 5 separate teams, and 2 teams, most of the time, 2 teams will be on duty and be scheduled for different sessions. So even coordinating that, like in terms of putting those groups together with language and different things involved. Lots of little moving pieces have to happen. But
I was going to say quite a challenge, but it sounds like, you have a team that's rising to the challenge.
Yes, for sure. And yeah, we've been able to delegate different roles. I guess the other aspect too is we're having small groups after the main morning session. Mm-hmm. So we're aiming to have young leaders leading those small groups, and there's a big component of prayer for that. So there'll be discussion around the Bible teaching, but then majority of the time will also be spent in prayer for each other. So yeah, we're also coordinating that aspect.
Fantastic. Well, Lyndal Walker, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Do you have a final word of wisdom before we close?
Well, one of my favorite quotes from myself is, prayer is not a have to, it's a get to.
Oh.
So often I think, especially if you've maybe grown up in the church, we can get a little bit jaded with prayer. It's feel like it's something that we have to do as part of our Christian experience. But I just say, actually, it's a get to. We get to commune with the God of the universe. And how amazing is that we can come before his throne of grace and, have this relationship with him. So, yeah, when you feel like it's like, I'm obligated to do this, or I can't be bothered, or whatever it might be, your feelings that you're having, we all feel the feels at times. It's like, actually, just to have a change of perspective and be like, no, I get to do this. This is amazing. I get to talk to the God of the universe who created all things. That's pretty amazing.
One through prayer. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and for those of you who have watched. And I look forward to you hearing from me in the next episode. And as ever, if you have any comments or feedback, you can just leave them below. But thank you for listening, and see you next time.